Hello, and I am so excited to welcome Monica Fay, who is the decluttering queen and helping us get ready for spring because spring is next week. So we need to do some spring cleaning. Welcome, Monica, to the new mid.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I love your show.
Thank you. So we, this winter has been a little bit tough for some of us, and we cannot wait for spring. And it's a week away. But that means spring cleaning and decluttering. So help us get started. Where do we start?
Okay, so this is the question everybody wants to know. How do we get started? And the obvious answer is just get into it, get through your stuff. But the less obvious answer is first just coming up with a vision of how you want your space to be. I think so often we're looking at Pinterest and Facebook and Instagram, and we see these picture perfect places, but we're not really realizing like what it is we actually want for our own space in the space that we already have. So just getting that vision for yourself and really getting your mind around what you want it to look like. And then you have a point of reference to work under. But if we're just going at it and we're just in the mix of things, it can be really hard to know what the end point is, or what we need to do next in our sequence. But once you have the vision down, the very first thing that I like to tell people to do is you choose a very small space, because when you are starting your decluttering journey, you want to have quick wins that make you feel really good. Because if you start on something tough, the likelihood of you completing it or feeling good about it or getting everything done that you wanted to decreases. So I always tell people, pick one room and then pick an even smaller section within that room and carve out a short amount of time. I always say 90 minutes is really good. When I work with people, I do 2.5 hour segments. But when someone's doing it alone, I say pick 90 minutes. And you want to, in that 90 minutes, even if it's a very small section, complete it. So under the kitchen sink, under the bathroom sink, your tea drawer, the laundry room, picking something small and going through the process of clearing a surface to work off of, then pulling everything out and categorizing it, then choosing per category what you can declutter. And then the next step would be the organization, putting it back into place, and then making the decision what structure you need. And when I say structure, I mean the materials. So baskets, bins, labels, and that comes last. Everybody wants to do that first because it's, instant gratification. But when I go into homes and I say, do you have any organizing supplies we can repurpose when we do this room or that room? They always say yes and lead me to a closet or a garage or an empty like living room that's not being used or dining room that's not being used. And there is the bin graveyard, all the hundreds of dollars of organizing products that don't work with the space, or there was too many and too complicated. So I always tell people to do the aesthetic last.
Oh, that's great. That's really helpful. I never even thought of it that way. So is that kind of like your method? I know Marie Kondo does this bring you joy? And that's a lot of throwing things away. So do you have a method for when you're going through your things?
Yes, mine is deeply psychological. I like for people to really go deep on their why. And I always say that the why is in the work. So a lot of people, they want to know why they're holding on to this stuff, why they're doing this and that. And the approach, I love Marie Kondo, but sometimes her approach of does this give me joy? So we have to realize some people don't even know what brings them joy because they've been agitated, their mind has been cluttered, they have all these expectations from other people. So even asking, does this bring joy into my life, we have to take a step back from that, and it's what is the reason we're holding on to it. And you don't really start to understand that reason till you start really getting into the things that you've been holding on to, and just asking yourself, why do I want to keep this? And then the next question would be, is this related to something else? There's always something else. Is this something I want, or is this a fear I have that I'm not going to be enough. I'm not going to be a provider for somebody who might need my help. I'm not the one people are going to be able to come to when they need the extra thing. And sometimes the why is something like, it can be ego based or security based. It could be something like, I'm keeping this thing because I had financial insecurity and I'm still, my body and mind are still remembering what it was like to not have that security, and everything that you have has value. So then once you acquired more money and more safety, it was hard to let go of those things because there's always something inside you that thinks, I've got to keep myself safe. I've got to have security. What if the floor drops out from under me again? So it's always going back and asking what the connection is to the past. So as much as we want to think forward, does this give me joy now? Sometimes it feels incomplete if we don't go a little bit deeper. And sometimes it can be as simple as, accumulating a lot of paper could be feeling like you aren't enough, you're never going to keep up with things. And that could trigger a memory from your past where you just weren't keeping up with people in your class or at the job you had for 35 years. And it's just acknowledging where it came from so that you can be complete with it. And you can say, oh, I get that. I get that holding on to this has absolutely nothing to do with the things. And I'm putting the value into the thing because of something from my past. So that is kind of my method, is just really, it's almost like a talk therapy where you just talk it out with people and you keep asking the why while they're doing the work, or while you're doing the work yourself. So in the physical movement, you are acknowledging those thoughts that are triggered and connecting it with the holding on.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's interesting because when you're going through your stuff, you need to take it all out. And so do you take it all out, and then when you're going to put it back, is that when you talk about the why, or do you talk about the why when you're taking it out? Because I've heard also that you organize it in keep, throwaway, and charity. Is that still what you should do? And when are you asking the why during that process?
So in the beginning, before you even start, in the process of that vision that you want to put together, like, what do I want this room to feel like or look like? You want to also just start to think. Because a lot of people are like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? It's more so, you start the why in a different way before you take things out. It just becomes the after effect of why. So it's like, if this is why I'm doing this, where do I want to end up? So you just have to root yourself in where you want to end up, that vision. And as you pull stuff out section by section, feelings will start to come up. So if you start getting agitated or you start feeling sad, then you can start to ask yourself the why there. It's the feelings that come up along the way of pulling things out, but then remembering that vision that you want to have so that you can acknowledge the thing you're feeling, relate it to something from your past, and then match it up with the vision that you have. Does this match up with where I want to be and how I want to feel? Is this really going to add to this room and this experience that I'm going to have? So it's a little bit of a process of acknowledging where you want to go and the vision you have for yourself, asking the why, and then matching that up, the value of that why up to the vision that you previously stated.
Okay.
So you go through things, and then I say always sort things first. So you pull the things out just from a small section. So not the whole closet, maybe a side of the closet, not the whole kitchen cabinets, just under the sink or just the Tupperware. And you do it like that. And then you would clear the surface first to work on. I would call it the surface first rule. And that could be the sink that's full of dishes. You clear it out and you wipe it out, put the dishes somewhere else just for then, or even clean them. Or if it's the dining room table, wiping the dining room table down and having a space to put things on the table. If it's your bedroom, making the bed, having a nice, neat bed to work off of, and then sorting everything. And people have a tendency, they want to as they sort things, let things go. And that's great if you're just kind of going through a quick pile. But if you're going through something like a high volume of clothing or papers or a garage, that system can be really energy draining. So you want to separate things into what they are first so that your concentration can go into each category and you can go deeper in your mind. So for instance, if you have a big stack of papers, maybe it's a big bin of papers and you've got to go through it and they're all mixed up. If you have to make a decision on a medical paper, then a tax paper, then a paper from your lawyer, then your kids' schoolwork, it's like your brain has to switch gears every single time you make a decision. And organization and decluttering is about confident decision making. And we become confident in our decisions when we are grounded in how we feel, we can assess the memory, and we can choose what we want to do from there. But every time we switch gears, we can't make a confident decision. So we're making half-assed decisions. Sorry. Sorry about that. We're making, like 1 foot in decisions. And it's like, well, I think I need this and I'll look at this later, and instead of looking through all of your black shirts or all of your 2003 taxes, you are switching your mind all the time. So we want to be able to go deeper into each subject.
I like that because then you can see everything you have for your taxes. You can see
Mhm.
everything you have for your kids' school, everything you have for medical, and then figure out how to organize it from there. Now,
Yeah.
now what is the psychology behind the mindset of not wanting to throw things away? I'll do a little confession here. I have some pants, some jeans that I keep thinking I'm going to get back into those, so I don't want to get rid of them. You know, why am I holding on to those items?
Um, it is a mix between, I would say, fear and confidence and control. So confidence is not that like you are superior or that you can do all things in the world. I speak of confidence as in, if I let this go and I need it again, I have in me the ability to acquire it again. I know what decisions to make. I have the resources to go find that thing, acquire that thing, and just being confident and grounded that letting go doesn't take away. All it means is that you have the ability to choose to get it again. So, now that doesn't work for some, a grandfather clock from, 1812, but it works for our most common items. And then we talk about fear, and the fear can be, I will never be what I was before, or what if I'm lacking? So a fear base is when you think something's going to happen that you're not in control of anymore. So they're all kind of go together, the confidence, the control, and the fear. And it's a fear that you are not good enough, that you once were better than you were before, that you're going to get back to a lifetime that you had. And it's like, the life has already been lived. The money has already been spent. The body has already changed. The memories have already been made. So our choice is never going to be going backward, because we scientifically cannot revisit the past. We can recall memories, and we can create new experiences and new marks on the timeline that never stops. So when somebody's saying like, I might fit into this, I fit into this 10 years ago, I might fit into it again, it becomes, are you confident and committed to getting into that size? Or can you release the life you had before when you were in that size and you are okay with where you are now, and have the confidence, again, the confidence to know that if you wanted to make the change, that you could. So you can let this go because you are, now it's our third point, in control. And sometimes we take, like when it comes to letting go, we think of control the other way, where I'm going to control the environment by keeping things. Because if I keep it, I will remember. If I keep it, I will eventually get back into this. If I keep it, someday maybe I'll work on it. My life will be a way because I'm in control. But the real control comes from letting go and clearing a space that doesn't keep all the old stuff that's keeping you rooted in the past. The control becomes, I'm opening a space and I'm not allowing it to be cluttered up um, because I know that I create in empty spaces. I create in the void. And sometimes, or a lot of times, when we create clear spaces in our life, whether it be with entrepreneurship or family or physical space or our bodies, we will allow it to get cluttered again because it's so uncomfortable to have that clear space, because it is an identity shift. We don't know who we are when we don't have these physical markers anymore. If you don't have the skinny jeans from 10 years ago, who are you? Because for 10 years, you've been telling yourself you are the person who will one day get back into the jeans because you lived a fabulous life when you were that size. Or if you have a shelf full of all your crafts, it's you are the crafter, you are a creative, you will always have the items you need when genius strikes. But who are you as an artist if you have a void to create out of, and not this stockpile that you have to remember you have and hope that genius strikes, and that one piece is going to be the change maker. So it's control and confidence and fear.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more because I love the person I was in those jeans 10 years ago. I love the person I am now, but I, really enjoyed, my figure back then. But here I am in midlife and things happen. Now, I wanted to ask you, I have when I'm going through things, and I'm really excited about doing some spring cleaning, and I will do a section at a time. But I have to admit, there's those items that I just don't know where to do with. They just don't fit into a category. What do I do with those items?
So a lot of those items aren't needed at all. So a lot of those miscellaneous, the reason why it's like, when we either categorize things and they all go together and then we find a home, or they're a very specific item, they don't really go with anything, but we do need it and we also have to find a home. But if it becomes to a point, it comes to a point where it doesn't have a category, so it can't go home with all those things, but it also, I can't find a realistic spot in my home for this because it's not part of my day-to-day life. It's not part of safety. It's not part of my happiness. It's just this thing. Then we have to realize that we are pushing that thing out, that you don't necessarily need it. So some of those items you really don't need, and we have to take another look at it. Is this something you really need? And just really be hard on yourself about getting down to what it is you really want. But on the other side of that, if it is something you need, it's just a weird shaped item, it sometimes just becomes about getting the correct structure in place. So it could be adding a shelf in, because sometimes we can't find a place for things because we don't have adequate structure. It could be as simple as a bookshelf or a regular shelf, or it could be some that maybe we need a full cabinet in our garage, or we need an extra bin to put it in, but we don't have that structure in place. So sometimes I'll go into people's houses to organize, and we've gotten through all the stuff, we've separated them into cardboard boxes, and I'm like, all right, we need to put them on something now, but there's no furniture. It's like a closet that has like one bar across, and it's like, well, okay, we can't put it in the closet. Or you go into the garage and it's just space to park the car. There's no, all you can do is line the walls. So sometimes it's just a structure problem. And if you don't have the right structure to put things away, I would consider going to the Container Store or Uline or Target and finding a piece that will support some of the miscellaneous stuff, or some of the bulkier pieces that you don't want just lying in the corner of your living room or something like that.
Okay, I will definitely do that. I think it is a bid situation.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of pictures, we're midlife. Well, I'm midlife and a lot of my listeners are midlife, and we have a lot of pictures, from our kids' sports and from past family events. How do we organize our photographs?
So, photographs, we have an entire sector of professional organizers who specialize in archiving and photo organization, and they are so good at it. So, you could hire an archivist or a photo organizer to do this for you, because organizing photos, it's so tedious. They can even scan it online for you and just take out some of that physical photos, so you don't have to have like 30 albums on your shelf, or boxes and boxes of loose pictures. But if you are going to do it yourself, what I would do is I would first try to look in small sections, try to get it to, I like to organize pictures that are not digital already, physical pictures, into events that happened. Because I think sometimes people try to organize by year, but I think memory, like recalling memory, is better by event. And before we had cell phone pictures, we were using digital cameras, and before that, it was disposable cameras or really big, bulky cameras. So it's like it was like point and shoot and hope. It was like I hope I got it. So there's a lot of copies of just like one person and then a group of people you don't even know behind them, or just like, so I have so many pictures I took as when I was in like 8th grade of like, I don't know what I was pointing at, but it would be like a garden or something, and there's no clear picture of a flower or a bush or something. It's just trees and like a path. So getting rid of some of that those pictures that don't really mean anything, pulling those out and not being afraid to let go. And then just getting down to each event that you were a part of, because in older years, that's what we were doing. In the past, it was like a birthday, it was a trip we went on, it was a family reunion, it was a graduation. And now we take selfies all the time. So it's like, I categorize by year on my phone because it's easy, it's already there. So just going by event would be great. And there are, if you want to keep it physical, there are photo boxes. If simply spaced, if anybody wants some beautiful non-transparent photo boxes, simply spaced by Monica Lead. She has beautiful photo boxes. The Container Store and Amazon have clear photo organizing boxes. It's small, clear boxes that go inside of a larger box. So you put each event or category into a smaller box, label it, and then put it into the larger box. I would have somebody else digitize it for you. Just go ahead, bite the bullet, let somebody scan it all, because, oh man, I'll tell you, it takes a long time. So I would recommend getting someone to do it for you if you did so. But if you do it yourself, again, do it by event, upload it into folders and put the event and year on it, and you should be good to go. And don't be afraid to let go of duplicates.
That's great. Well, if people are going to, combine homes, how best can you organize that? Two homes into one?
So the best piece of advice I have for combining two homes is, before it even happens, downsize as much as you can in each home, not just the home that's being moved into. I know a lot of people move into a new space together to have a new home, but if one person is moving into another person's home, each person, both the homeowner, the original homeowner, and the person moving in, should really do a few rounds of decluttering and reorganizing and creating space for the other person. Because when someone moves in, there should be the least amount of stuff possible coming in. And everybody has the idea to do it. Hardly anybody ever does. So I would be very strict with myself about really decluttering before the move-in happens on both sides. And also being okay with not having your things as the common things, and being okay with letting go of certain cooking utensils and things like that there might be duplicates of, and just let go of like the ego a little bit, because some people have like their favorite spatula or this or that, and it's like, well, when you end up with 4 and the house has increased by double, you don't want to have to fight for more like the space, the little space that you have. So just being able to go over the items that are being brought in together and make a healthy decision on which ones are the best quality and the most needed, and be fair about it.
So you finally done your spring cleaning, you finally decluttered, have everything nicely organized. How do you stay the course? How do you not get back to that place where it's a mess again?
So this is the common misconception with organization. People think that like you have to get organized and then be an organized person from that point on. But really what it is like it becomes a habit. So in habit, that means that you are doing the daily maintenance or the daily, structure, but then there's always going to be the monthly cleanup or the yearly cleanup or the halfway through the year point clear up, and you aren't a failure if the clutter piles back up. It just means that you need to do another round, assess things again, do a temperature check, like what's been going on with me lately. Is this because I haven't been putting things away, or is it because something bigger is happening? I'm avoiding confronting someone. You're avoiding something else. So this is happening. Are you overcommitting to something so you don't have the brain space or the time to put these things away? So it's just being honest with yourself. Like, instead of going about it, I'm a failure, I'm not organized. It's just being really honest about where you are. And I like to pick one thing and build on it. So for me, it's my dining room table. I work on my dining room table. So every day I get really precious about it. And I do this with my clients too, when we work section by section. The section that you complete that's organized, every day you have to check it. So dining table before I go to bed, whatever the house looks like, it doesn't matter, because my dining table has to be, the books have to be neatened up, my computer has to be closed and put somewhere else. I wipe down the table and I arrange little things on it so it looks really nice. Like I have my teapot on here that I use every day, so that I arrange it and I get weird about it. And so you start with just like 5 minutes with that one thing. And then when you move to the next section, that's the next thing you're going to be precious about. And my clients have said when they do it that way, when they become very territorial about the new cleanliness and cleared out area, and they build on it, each area one at a time, they find themselves naturally picking up throughout the day, because it looks weird when that space has something on it. So going to the bathroom, you see the sweaters on the chair, you go ahead and grab the sweater and take it with you on the way to the bathroom to drop off in the hamper. And that's just naturally occurring. And I'm all about taking your natural habits and the way you learn and the way you function and the way you process information, and just maximizing on your current skills. So you're not trying to reinvent the wheel and pretend that you're going to be this like super organized person all the time. It's not real. Most of the stuff we see online, these houses that you see online with all these like amazing pantries, it's like, look, I've been in these houses and it looks gorgeous for the picture. The rest of the stuff is behind us. And a lot of those people have a staff that clean every day, like a household cleaner every single day. So, it's that's not real. And I'll tell you, I've worked with over 500 people in their houses, like 500 houses, and that it's just not real. So
Well, that's good to know. That's a relief. Well, Monica, this has been so much fun. And thank you for all your wonderful insights. And we're all going to be getting out our dusting and cleaning and ready to go because, boy, are we ready for spring. So, how can people get in touch with you?
anyone can find me on Instagram. It's Miss Monica Faye. And you can also go to thebigletgo.com, and it's where you can download your free structure, the 90-minute structure that I talked about earlier today. It's a free framework. You can download it and you will get a few emails. I don't bombard people with emails. You'll get a few emails about different ways to declutter, different philosophies, and you're welcome to have that.
Oh, that's great. And I'll make sure to put it in the details so that everybody knows where they can get that 90 minutes, you said?
Yep,
90
90
minutes,
minute
right?
declutter. Yes.
Yeah, 90 minutes. We can do anything for 90 minutes. So
Yep.
that's perfect. And that's great because it will get us started. So, Monica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was such a great talk. I really appreciate it.